But it came to pass that when Sanballat heard that we built the wall, he was wroth and took great indignation and mocked the Jews. And he spake before his brethren in the army of Samaria and said, what do these feeble Jews? What will they fortify themselves? Will they sacrifice? Will they make an end in a day? Will they revive the stones out of the heaps of the rubbish which are burnt? Now Tobiah the Ammonite was by him, and he said, even that which they build, if a fox go up, he shall even break down their stone walls. Oh, hear, O our God, for we are despised, and turn their reproach upon their own head, and give them for a prey in the land of the captivity. And cover not their iniquities, and let not their sin be blotted out from before thee. For they have provoked thee to anger before the builders. Verse 6. So built we the wall, and all the wall was joined together unto half thereof, for the people had a mind to work. For the people had a mind to work. Well, J.W., how does this text, how does it work? What is it going to speak for occasion such as this? Normally you would use this text when there's a building fund program or there's a church anniversary. You know what I'm saying? But out of the 40 years of ministry, I've never used this text for pastor's anniversary. So if it don't go over well, you know, it's my first run. and I'm going to tell you before I get started, and we tag in the text like this, trusting the process. Trusting the process. Trusting the process. Trusting where God is leading you. And I was told by a certain individual who was sitting on the front row to my right that if I didn't do a good job, that there are women in the congregation who kicks off their shoes when they come to church, and that they would be throwing shoes. I was told that. And as a matter of fact, Fred is my witness. He heard it. He heard it loud and clear. So, ladies, I better listen. I'm already jacked up. Don't. I can't duck. I can't dodge. I can't run. I can't get out of the way. So hold the heels until the next go round. Trusting the process. I remember when, Pastor, when you came here 28 years ago, I was at St. Augusta. I remember you came here using the small sanctuary with much smaller congregation. And you accepted the challenge to follow God through the process for 28 long years. Trusting Him in the process, through the process. Taking those necessary actions or steps in order to obtain a particular end. You wanted to be so successful throughout the process because you wanted God one day to say, well done. thy good and faithful servant. And so when I accepted the opportunity to come, I was trying to think, God, what can I say to Dr. Wood and to that congregation that they have not already heard over the past 28 years? The truth was nothing. Not a thing. That's right. So I'm just going to refresh your memory. That's all I'm going to do. Because if you've been in the church for a minute, you've read the story about Nehemiah. You know the story about Nehemiah. You know that he was a cupbearer to the king. You know he was away from home in a strange land. You know what had taken place prior to him being there. How Jerusalem had been burned and destroyed, and many of God's people had been taken away into captivity. You know that story. And on several times that there were certain groups who were allowed to come back to Jerusalem. Yes. Ezra, matter of fact, he came back and brought a group of people, and Artaxerxes, the king of Persia, gave him funds to rebuild the temple. And when I was looking at this text, I'm saying, like, you know, you gave Ezra the money to rebuild a temple. Why didn't he take on the challenge of also rebuilding the city? Because the walls had been burnt and had been torn down, and the gates had been destroyed, and the people were there in distress. They were living in a state of fear. They had nothing to shield them from outside oppositions. The enemy could have easily came in and wiped them out. They was living there in a run down, burned down, destroyed city. And that was an unhappy state to be in. But then Nehemiah had some brothers who paid him a visit. And he raised the question, how is things back home? They began to pour out to him how the people was living, their living circumstances. And you know what that did? It put a burden on Nehemiah's heart. He says, I'm here serving the king. I'm here, I've got a good life. Everything looks well with me. You know, I'm doing all right. I'm the king's cupbearer.
Go ahead, Bishop.
I'm hanging around the palace. But now that I've heard about my family, my friends back home, now that I've heard about how the holy city, oh my, it put a burden on his heart to the fact that he became so sad that when he approached the king to serve the king wine, the king looked at him and he says, no, this is not good. He says, Nehemiah, what's wrong? You've been serving me, but you've been coming in my presence with a spirit of pleasantness. But today, you have this sad look on your face. And I'll go a step further, Nehemiah. What I see on your face is not the sign of any type of sickness. You don't have any kind of aches and pains. So it's got to be sadness, sadness of heart. Nehemiah began to pour out to the king while he was sad. Oh, bless his name. So the king, after Nehemiah had prayed that the Lord would touch his heart, the king gave way for Nehemiah to go back home and do something about the situation. Now, you got to understand, brothers and sisters, anytime that there's a God-sized task placed upon one, it does not come without some form of opposition. Now, if you think you're going to do anything for God and the enemy is not going to try to stop you, you better rethink. Because the truth of the matter is, there's a Sanballat and a Tobiah they're always around. Sometimes they greet you and they got a smile on their face and they'll embrace you. But they got a Sanballat spirit. They got a Tobiah spirit. But Nehemiah didn't allow that to stop him, to cause him to fold a give up. It's just part of the process. Opposition is a part of life. Well, if you trust God through the process, what he will do with opposition, he will grow your faith. He will grow your trust. He will grow your confidence. He'll draw you closer to him. Do I have any witnesses up in here? Has anybody in here ever been with your back up against the wall? And you had to cry out to God. And God showed up. And the songwriter says, and he showed out. So, my brothers and sisters, there are 6 things that just leaps out the text when you think in terms of trusting God through the process. And I'm going to tell you, every great leader will learn how to handle opposition.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
He'll learn how to do that. And because he really has no other choice. Because the burden that God has placed in his heart for the task is greater than the opposition.
That's right.
You know, the devil is a bad boy. He's always up to something. Always trying to make you believe and make you think that he has the upper hand. When the truth of the matter is, he can't do anything unless God allows. So, right out of the text, I'm going to lay it out, because if I lay out these 6 things, then you will have them. Because sometimes, being a teenager, I may have to take the next exit.
That's right.
Yeah, I may have to take the next exit. And what really taught me that sometimes I may have to take the next exit is 4 years ago when I had the heart attack and they had to put the pacemaker in. And I'm going to try to still be, you understand, like before. Found out that don't work. So here are the 6 things. I'm going to lay this out, and then we're going to jump headlong into this, okay? What did he do in order to trust the process? He relied on God. He relied on God. Okay? Secondly, he respected the opposition. Man, don't you take your enemies lightly now. Thirdly, he reinforced the weak points. In every ministry, there are some weak points. The devil will find a way to use those weak points to start something. Then the 4th thing is he reassured the people. He did that by telling them how great God is. And then he refused to quit. Even when Sanballat and Tobiah was threatening to kill him, he refused to quit. And then finally, he renewed the people's strength. He renewed the people's strength. And this has been the life of Pastor Wood. This has been the life of New Providence. Every church needs a Nehemiah. This is Nehemiah. You call him Dr. Wood. I call him Nehemiah. Yeah, he relied on God. In verse 4 of the text reads, "Hear, O our God, for we are despised." For we are despised. They were despised because they were doing something good. They were doing something right. They were doing something that was going to enhance the quality of the people's lives. They were doing something that was going to add value to the people's lives. Anytime you start touching people's lives like that, the enemy will despise you. Yeah, he'll despise you. You start blessing somebody. You start encouraging somebody. You start being there for somebody. When everybody else walks away, you say, "I'm not going anywhere. I'm here to stay." You understand what I'm saying? The enemy will despise you. But you can't give up. You got to trust God through the process. Yeah, so he relied on God. And so in doing so, he had to cry out to God in prayer. He had to call. How many of you know prayer changed things? Man, you can talk to God anytime, day or night, and guess what? He won't get tired of listening. Yeah. He won't get tired of listening. And sometimes that's all you have to talk to is God. Now, I'm talking from a living experience. I've been in a situation where there was no use of talking to nobody else.
Yeah, that's right.
There was nobody else who could come to my rescue. There was nobody else who could be there for me. There was nobody else to help me out. Trust the process. Secondly, he respected the opposition. Look at verse 9 of the text. Verse 9 of the text reads, "Nevertheless, we made our prayer unto our God and set a watch against them," the enemy, day and night. The old folks used to say it like this: you got to watch, well, let's pray.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
If you're always praying and not watching, you got some stuff out of balance. The enemy can still penetrate and get to you. But if you pray and watch, or watch and pray, you'll know which way to direct your prayer.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Because prayer has to be aimed at something. If you want prayer to work, you know what you want to hit, you got to aim your prayer at that. If you're sick, you ain't got no business praying about food. Shucks, God bless your life. You need a fix. That's what I call it. Yeah. So he respected his opposition. He didn't take the enemy lightly. He prayed and he watched. And he directed his prayer, and God came through. The third thing about trusting the process, Dr. Wood did this, Nehemiah did this, is that he reinforced the weak points. Yeah, look at verse 13. "Therefore set I in the lower places behind the wall and on the high places, even set the people after their families with their swords, their spears, and their bows." Nehemiah placed the people in the right position. You know that the church has many members. It's just like a human body. The church has many members. A human body, you got hands, you got feet, you got eyes, you got ears, you got, and so a mouth. And so everybody has to work together. You just can't put the wrong person in a position. You got to have the right people in the right position. And Nehemiah knew this. And so he placed them where he wanted them, so when the enemy would come in, when the enemy would attack, guess what? All bases were covered. All bases were covered. He gave them something to work with. Over the past 28 years, Sunday after Sunday, month after month, Dr. Wood has stood here and gave you all something to work with. No greater sword than the Word of God. As a matter of fact, when I pray, I like to use a lot of scriptures when I pray. I pray a lot like David did. I be praying that he heaped coals of fire on their head. I be praying that he cut their head off. Because that's what they tried to do to me. Yes. You have to have folk in the right position. Yeah. Nehemiah made sure that all bases were covered. And the fourth thing is that he reassured the people. Look at verse 14. And I looked and rose up and said unto the nobles and to the rulers and to the rest of the people. What did he say? Be not ye afraid of them. Remember. Somebody shout, remember. The Lord, which is great and terrible, and fight. Look who he said fight for. Fight for your brothers. Fight for your sisters. Come on, fight for your family. Fight for your home. In this life, brothers and sisters, you got to learn how to fight. You got to learn how to fight a good fight of faith. That's what doctor's been teaching all 28 years, teaching you how to fight in order to win. Fight in order to win. Fight in order to win. Fight. If you don't learn how to fight, you'll get whipped every time. Number 5, trust in the process. Here again, Dr. Wood, you have to refuse to quit. Look at 15. Verse 15 says, and it came to pass when our enemies heard that it was known unto God and that God had brought their counsel to naught, that we all returned to the wall. We all got busy. We all got going. This is not really in my notes, but watch this. In order to have a vibrant church, a vibrant ministry, there are 4 components that has to be in place. Pastor Wood knew that. Number 1, there has to be clarity. It has to be clarity. Everybody, from leadership all the way back down, has to be clear on what the ministry is all about, what we have purpose to do. Yeah, there has to be clarity. Because if you don't have that, no, let me just move on. I'm not going to bother with it. Let me just leave it alone. Yeah, but clarity is important. Yeah, then there has to, well, the second thing really, I'm not going to give it to you, is movement. Clarity, then movement. Movement is that everybody is growing. I'm telling you, if you have a congregation and they stay babies year after year after year after year after year, you can't get much out of babies. But when there is growing and maturing, elevation, good God Almighty.
Yes, sir. Good, Bishop. Yes, sir.
The third thing you have to have, alignment. Go ahead, sister. You know I worked that thing the other night for y'all, didn't I? Yes, alignment is very important. All of you in here, let me see the hands of everybody here who drives, who owns a car. Good Lord. Ain't but a few folk in here who don't drive, who don't own a car. You know if you own a car, if that car is out of alignment, you know what's going to happen.
That's right.
There's going to be a lot of damage done. Tires are going to be messed up. You could even lose control and have a head-on collision. But when everybody in the church is in alignment with what the church has purpose to do, Sam Ballard can't stop you. Tobiah can't stop you. You can rise above everything that the enemy tried to do. And then the fourth element you need to have in place for a Bible church is that there has to be focused. Got to be focused. Got to be focused. Don't try to make things complicated. Just keep things simple. If you keep it simple, people can handle stuff when it's simple. When you start making it complicated, they all say, wait a minute.
Yeah.
The devil of my life is already complicated.
That's right.
I'm catching hell on the job.
Yes, sir.
I'm catching hell in the community. I'm catching hell in the family. I don't need no more complications. I need something to be simple. And then, well, ain't no shoes came, so I must be doing okay. You have to renew the people's strength. That's what he did. Every time he would teach Bible study, every time he would preach a sermon, the word of God that was coming forth out of his mouth was to renew your strength. Because in ministry, so many things will pull on you. So many things will drain you. You understand what I'm trying to say? And you have to be revived. So you will see this verses 16 through 23, but I just want to say this about this part of the text. Nehemiah said to the nobles and to the rulers, to all of those folk, listen, we got this thing. We got it. Yeah, we got it. We know what our enemies are up to, but what they don't know is they don't know about our God. They don't know about our God. They don't know that our God will fight for us. Be still and know that the Lord is good. And then, my brothers and sisters, if you don't mind, let me close the old J.W. McNeill way. Yeah. I have to close this way. Now, I understand introduction. I understand the body. I understand what the conclusion is supposed to be like. But guess what? Ain't nothing you can preach in the Bible that you can't conclude by going by the cross.
Yes, sir.
I don't care what the text is. From Genesis throughout Revelation, you can always go by the cross. Because if the cross is not involved, then everything else is in vain. And then so, my brothers and sisters, Jesus is a prime example of how to trust the process. You see, Jesus knew that coming from glory to the earth, he had to unvest himself, unrobe himself, and then take on a body of flesh and blood. And for 3 long years, he was trusting the process. But then one Friday evening, they hung him high. They stretched him wide. They drove nails in his hand. They even put a crown of thorns around his head. They gambled for his clothing. He never said a mumbling word. They pierced him in the side. He hung his head. For me, he died. But early, 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 early. Sunday morning, he rose with all power. Power, overcoming power. Power, enduring power. Power, resurrection power. Power, delivering power. Power, healing power. Power. Yeah. Trust in the process. For 28 years, you implemented these 6 things. You did. You did that. That's why the church has grown to what it is. That's why you have a successful ministry. That's why you have a vibrant church. It's because you trusted the process. Oh my.